Hi, this is Martin and Arlo, and today we are going to make rustic ciabatta sandwiches.
Nice! Perfect. Just put it on the bench. Awesome. Okay, so we are making rustic Italian ciabatta sandwiches. So last week we made a video of the rustic Italian ciabatta, right? The bread, very good. And what we've done is we have taken that base dough and we've added some ingredients to it. We have a version which is with olives and fresh herbs, which is rising, and I'm gonna load that in a minute. We have another version which I already mixed, which is like a smoky spiced pepperoni, which I'm gonna divide in just a second. And then we have one to mix, which is olives and spicy smoked pepperoni and herbs, and Arlo is going to mix that one. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so Arlo's gonna do the mix, and what we have in this bowl is the biga that I set yesterday. The biga is the pre-ferment, and again, we made this video last week if you want to see a little bit more detail about each step. But right now I have the biga in the bowl with the water, so go ahead and mix that up. And it doesn't have to be fully broken up. You just want to kind of squeeze your hand through it so that it sort of breaks up some. Yeah. See how he is breaking that up?
Feels very weird.
Feels good, right? I love that feeling. So he breaks it up a little bit. It's not going to be fully homogeneous. It's okay to have some pieces of biga in there. They'll get incorporated more when we add the dry ingredients. Okay. I think that's pretty good actually. So go ahead and grab your dry. And that dry is flour, salt, and yeast, which I had him stir together. And you just dump it all in there. Just invert the bowl and go for it. Perfect. So you can use your hand in there if you want. Yeah, it's gonna be super messy.
I don't mind that.
And while you're doing that, I'm gonna go ahead and divide the one that has been proofing for a couple hours. More than a couple. I went pretty long on this. The recipe only says 2 hours, but I've said it 100 times, you can give dough more than that. Most of the time you can give dough more than what is prescribed on the recipes. It's rare that that's gonna cause a problem. So this is a dough which has some local smoked spicy pepperoni in it. And what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna fold this a little bit before I divide it. And I think that people will find that this makes it a little bit easier to handle. I don't always do this for ciabatta, but this recipe is a little bit on the sticky side. And I think that those of you who are maybe new to this might find it a little bit easier in terms of handling if you apply that fold.
Is there anything I should be doing with this?
Nope, that looks good. Let's get a scraper and we'll just scrape it down a little bit. Can I do that for you?
Yes, of course.
So I'm just scraping the sides down just a little bit and then get that in there. See if you can get that dough off your hands and put it in the bowl. And then once you've got a decent amount of it, just go ahead and go ahead and go clean your hands up. And we're gonna let that set for just a second. Okay, so this is the dough that we added amendments to, and I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that because we have some to add over here, but like I said, this is a pepperoni one. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna make some long, thin, crusty sandwiches. And so what I wanna do is I'm just gonna eyeball this and divide it into thirds. Actually, this is gonna cut better with a chef knife, I think. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I've got 3 pieces, roughly even. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place them on a floured linen. You could also set them on parchment if you wanted. You could just set it on parchment, and then you don't have to move it again before you load. Okay, so Arlo's got his flour, his dry ingredients, and his water, and his biga in the bowl, right?
Yes.
And it looks like it's mostly, but not 100% homogeneous. Now, you would just proceed normally from here if you were making the sort of classic ciabatta that we made a video of last week. But we've decided to add some inclusions. And so in terms of quantities for this recipe, what I have is about 1 packed cup of a mixture of olives and pepperoni. So about a packed cup, which was in the 150, 160 gram range, which is maybe around 30% of flour weight. So about a packed cup of inclusions. And I also added to that, I added a half cup of fresh basil from the garden. Okay,
Nice.
That should be good, right? Okay, so this dough is rested for maybe 5-10 minutes. And now we can just put these on top. And so we're basically putting them on at the beginning of bulk fermentation. And I'm gonna show you how I start this off, and then what we'll do is we'll wait a little bit and then we'll show how we do a fold. But I'm gonna show you how I get this stuff in there. And basically, I just sort of press it in with my fingers. And it's a lot. We're putting a lot of inclusions in here. It's one of the nice things about baking at home is you can sort of like make a delicious bread like this without really worrying quite as much as a bakery might about like how much we're gonna have to sell this bread for, you know what I mean? So I'm kind of pressing them in, and then I go through and I start lifting and pressing. And lifting and pressing. And you could use this technique for a baguette dough. You could use it for almost any type of dough. Adding the inclusions right at the beginning of the bulk. And I'm just sort of turning it until it starts to look homogeneous. It's not going to be fully homogeneous, but we're going to do this 1 to 2 more times in the first hour, and then we'll leave it untouched for the second hour of its rise. And we'll have Arlo do the second fold. Do you see how that's going in?
Yeah.
It's starting to smooth out. It's messy for sure, and this is a soft, messy dough, but we need that in order for it to have an open crumb structure and a nice thin crust. You need a lot of water. Okay, so this is a dough that I mixed earlier today and then divided before we started, and it's had a solid hour, maybe even a little bit more, and it looks really pillowy, right? You see how, watch out when you touch it. See how it's just super, super soft, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Very, very soft. So in order to handle this, I'm gonna add a little bit of flour to the top side because otherwise, when I try and transfer it, it's gonna stick to my peel.
Looks like all those things inside look very nice and incorporated.
Yeah, they are. They're super even, right? Looks good. I forgot my transfer peel, so I found a box in the storeroom and I just took part of the lid off. I used something like this for years in Manhattan before I had a real transfer peel, and it works well. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm pretending that this is the bottom of the loaf and the top side is against the linen here. So I'm gonna turn it over and I'm just gonna roll it back. Whoop, like that. And I'll do it with this one as well. Roll it over, roll it back. Number 2.
Are you going to do 3 on that?
Yeah, I think I can do 3. I use the straight edge of this to make the sides nice and even because if we're eating a sandwich, we don't want it to look, you know, all wobbly and weird, right? We want it to be even. So let's go one more. Sometimes they will stick to the couche a little bit, and if that happens, sometimes I just go over one more time. You can transfer these by hand, but they're so delicate and they're so, and they have so much hydration that they can be kind of difficult to deal with. And so I like the transfer peel. Again, you don't have to go buy an expensive one, just grab a box lid or something like that. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. So I've got a preheated oven. It's very hot. this oven runs a little bit cool, and so in order to get it up in the like 475 to 500 range, I have to set the oven to 550, which is as hot as it will go. And I have a stone in there that's preheated, and I also have a cast iron pan which is preheated in order to steam with. So here we go. So our ciabatta's out of the oven, and we let it cool a little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah.
And we're gonna make a sandwich. So let's cut it open. And you know, it's still pretty good. When you add things to ciabatta, you often impede the structure a little bit, but this is still nice and feathery and open, and you can see how thin and crisp this beautiful crust is. Okay. So let's make a sandwich. I'm gonna put some butter on first. I like a little bit of butter. You can put olive oil too if you want it.
No, I'm gonna do butter.
You're gonna do butter?
Olive oil, meh.
Okay. Bit of butter. I've got some of this Kensington's Chipotle mayo, which is like
insane.
Really good. Really
so good.
So Chipotle mayo. You know, ciabatta is, for me, such a good summer bread because we can add all of this stuff that's in season right now. So we've got crookneck squash, which I just roasted in the oven. For quite a while at kind of a low temperature. So I toss them with olive oil, I season them, and then I roast them on a sheet tray. Sometimes they can be a little bit watery, and I like roasting them because it takes some of the moisture off. And then our compost pile sprouted all these volunteer squash plants, and so I thought that we could use squash blossoms for lettuce, which I think should be good. It'll be pretty if nothing else, right? Mm-hmm. Do that. What else do we have? A little bit of onion. Oh, I didn't put any of this hummus on there either, right? So I got some hummus. Put hummus on this other side. And some onion.
And some herb stuff.
I've got some of that too. Got just a little bit of a vinaigrette. It should be good too, right? Vinaigrette.
So this isn't an open face?
Not an open face. Now we'll close it. So this is just balsamic with some olive oil and fresh basil, salt and pepper. It's a good balsamic. It's like an aged balsamic, so it has a little bit of sweetness to it.
So excited.
Good? Okay. All right, so we're gonna cut this and try and get our mouths around that. It's kind of a big sandwich. So we made rustic Italian ciabatta today. We added some things to it. We made one version, right, with the smoked pepperoni. We made another version with olives and herbs, and then we made one with olives, herbs, and smoked pepperoni. To the recipe, which is on the King Arthur website, we added about a packed cup of inclusions or amendments, and then we just folded them in. We baked it until it's nice and crisp, and now we have a little snack, which should be really good.
Yes, totally.
Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Arlo, for helping out. And Anthem is back behind the camera today, and we're glad to have her. Thank you, and to you and yours, have a great day. Cheers.